Good morning, everybody. How's it going today? It's now Wednesday, March the 16th. It's 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, and we're going to talk about Bitcoin. So let's do a quick update on it. We look at the 24-hour volume, and it was waning very, very steadily. Well, before we get started, guys, make sure you upvote this on steemit. It only takes literally 5 seconds of your time, all right? That's how you guys support me in a very small way. And make sure you also like, subscribe, and share as well the material if it's helped you. So let's take a look at the 24-hour volume. What we see is that over the past 24 hours, the market cap has definitely decreased, right? We were at 339 billion. We dropped down to 323 billion, and we're slowly, steadily climbing back up to 335 right now because this breakout was actually very expected, right? So let's take a look at the historical data as well here. The historical data, we see that over the past few days, it was declining in volume. And in just the past few hours, actually, we started to spike up there, and we'll go over that spike in price as well. So we were at $6.8 billion yesterday. Then today, we're at about $5.7 billion so far. Market cap would be a lot more comfortable if we actually got to somewhere around 350, 375 billion. So I'm not convinced of an uptrend despite this breakout right now. And let's go over a lot of these criterias that must be met. So yesterday, if you guys remember, I wrote the general tone that a possible bullish scenario to 8600 is on the table if and only if we break above 8400. But my bear scenario is still full on play if we break below $7,930. The signal will signal the bears to step in with a target support of near 7,250. So that's pretty much what I wrote there. So let's take a look at what is going on right now. We see that on the daily chart, it's looking to be fairly bullish, right? But we have to understand that despite it looking bullish, we have no signs other than price action right now that dictates a bullish momentum upwards. Yes, we are getting a fairly decent tick up on the histogram, but I still believe we'd have our one more wave coming down. If we look at the MACD as well, the RSI, yes, it is ticking upwards, but we need to have a series of bullish divergences for us to consider it to be on an uptrend, right? So the way that I'm seeing it right now is there's no series of bullish divergence yet. All that we see is bearish divergence actually, right? We're seeing kind of bearish divergence right now, and we got to give it a few days until this actually pops and breaks outwards. So I'm not convinced quite yet that we are in an uptrend despite breaking out a few $100s here. We might see a small little possible tick, right, to the positive side, but I really can't see it happening quite yet, not for a few more days. What we're seeing over the past 24 hours, guys, we have to keep this in mind, okay? Over the 12 hours that we're seeing bearish divergence across the time frame. So now we keep going down, we see a possible small tick. Now, a lot of people think that this might be a big tick upwards, but I really doubt it. I think it's going to be very small. Don't be mistaken for a large one and a big one crossover for the MACD, okay? Look at the 4 hours as well. Yes, we are finally upticking. First time we've upticked positively has been since March the 13th. But you know what? There's still a long ways to go in my opinion, and the bears have a big fight to win. Just keep going down on the 45-minute chart, for example, okay? We look on the 45-minute chart. Is this actually just going to round off and then come right back down? Most likely. So we see that we spiked all the way up to 85.50, and we've got shot down by $100 already here, right? Now, let me show you guys how easy it was to tell this was going to break out as well, okay? I'm going to show you guys how to play these specific circumstances. For example, on I don't know, on a 30-minute chart, I suppose, okay? So the way that we've been drawing our trend line is like that so far, right? So that's how you wanted to draw your trend line supports and resistances in a channel, something like that. And then have you guys noticed that this channel right here, it actually intersects right where around the 55 EMA is, right? So that's very important to make note of. Now, we wouldn't be able to catch it on these ones right here. Maybe on a lower time frame we were able to catch it. Let's say you go to a 10-minute chart, okay? Here you go. Here's where you were able to catch the breakout. I actually just woke up to it breaking upwards, but I would have definitely played it. The way you see this is you see it as a clear rejection to the downside on the 55 EMA, right? So what you're seeing is a series of candles that are getting well above the 55 EMA, okay? And then these series are rejection candles to the downside, specifically these ones right there, okay? So what you would want to do is you want to target. Really easy to play this breakout, guys. I wish I was awake for it. I usually would have, I catch things like this all the time. How would you have played it? Well, you would have made yourself on a higher time frame, just as an example, okay? You would have made yourself a trend line support right there in a parallel line like that, okay? So you would have targeted somewhere around these ranges right there, okay? Does that make sense? Notice how confluent it's looking thus far, right? So then you go on a really low time frame, you would say, okay, I got my supports right there. That's been indicative from higher time frames, right? Now if I go to like a 5-minute chart, I see that it's bouncing off of here. I now take the risk. Of entering right around here. I set my stop loss slightly lower than the 55 EMA or the trend line support regions down over there, okay? Then you guys simply just target the top of the channel, and voila, that's how you would have made yourself an easy 400 for 4% right there, right? Looks easier said than done, you guys think? I don't know about that, okay? But if you guys keep being consistent and you try to spot these signs of bearish divergence, what I can guarantee is that across over some time, guys, you guys are definitely going to be successful. You're definitely going to catch a lot more of these breakouts as well. And that's genuinely how I think you guys should try to strive for in the future, right? Just keep practicing on catching these breakouts, see where it bounces off of the 55 EMA. If you guys looked on the 15-minute chart, you could have done the same thing, right? Where you saw like a rejection there, and you would have just, even though it downtrended a little bit, it didn't really get too far. That's why you would have wanted to set your stop loss slightly below these specific regions. Because if you do that, you can easily time when to enter. You can set up a really decent risk to reward scenario, right? And then you would have been able to target the top of the channel resistance just like that. So you would have basically entered on the bounce of the 55 EMA, right? Right there. And then you would have got a pretty decent risk to reward setup right there, in my opinion. It would have been quite awesome. It would have been about a 5.98 risk to reward ratio. You would have targeted the top of this channel resistance, and you would have made yourself a pretty easy 4%. I wish I was awake for it, but that's okay. You can't catch them all, right? So what is next, right? We got to figure out what is going on next. Well, there's a clear channel that we're in right now, okay? It's a very clear channel that we're in, but let's get rid of some of this right here, like some of these symbols here. Let's go check it out on a different time frame here. What we see is a pretty clear resistance, guys, right? We see a massively clear resistance right around this range right here. Check it out. And because we're actually seeing a clear resistance right here, yeah, that's exactly why we're getting rejected pretty hard right now at this resistance line. Now, I don't know how much higher it's going to end up getting, but what I can guess is that we pretty much hit the top here, guys. There's a lot of confluent zones where we're hitting the resistance. This area acted as a major support region, right? And because it acted as a major support region, we can easily anticipate that these regions over here are also going to act like some sort of, or sorry, because they act as support, we can anticipate that this region right here will also act as a fairly heavy resistance zone. So the next logical step would be to assume that because these points acted as a former support, right? Now, this point is going to become a resistance now, right? So always remember that, guys, that the former support becomes a new resistance. Not only that, we're also inside like of an equivalent of a channel. So I have a hard time believing that this is going to break out right now. So my bearish count is still on the table, guys. This was kind of expected, in my opinion, right? I did say in my previous tweets as well that this does look like it's going to end up uptrending a little bit before we end up breaking down. And I mentioned that above an 8400 break, we would clearly get to roughly these regions right here, right? What we're seeing is, you know, we had some hesitation near the 382 level. Actually, let's make it more fair, right? At the 382 level here. And because we had a lot of resistance at the 382 level, we're also finding it at the 5.8 or 0.5 level right here as well, right? So I'm not really a big fan of of these resistance points, but unfortunately we've got to acknowledge them as well. So that's why I was saying in my previous videos that, you know what, the highest we can possibly go, honestly, if we break out of here, like there's no way, I don't think we'll get there, right? I don't think we'll get there, but I think the highest that we can trend to is maybe 1500, but it's more likely in between 5550 and, you know, 5800, something around these regions right here. I just cannot see it trending higher than here, guys. Like, you know, that's on the very bullish side. But either way, like I'm seeing a lot of yes, there's some bullish signs, guys, absolutely. But we gotta keep in mind that Elliott wave is the way that I trade, and based on Elliott wave right now, it just doesn't look like it's really possible to get much higher. Now, don't get me wrong, we can easily break out of this channel. Maybe it's not even a channel because we don't have a lot of relevant points. We're more so just taking the bottom end, right, and assuming parallelity. But you never know, we can completely break out of that with conviction. If we break out of it, let's just say we take it out of the equation right here, well, we got to look at all the other possible resistance points as well still, right? I mean, like, we look at it all around these regions here that are basically resistance, right? So I think that the highest will most likely end up trending to is maybe 85.50, just right around these points right here, and then we're done. And then we're probably going to end up heading down, in my opinion. Just I have a really hard time seeing it trend higher than here, like maybe up to these regions, right? Yeah, like maybe 86.50 or something. Yeah, it's super difficult to assume that we can get higher than that. Let's see what our Fibonacci extension tool tells us, okay? Our trend-based Fib extension tool tells us that, what did we hit right there? We hit about a 1-to-1 extension, just roughly. Maybe 8,700 is the highest we can get to, I'm guessing. Yeah, like I'm guessing that the maximum height that we can get to is $8,700 would be really pushing it right here, assuming a 1-to-1 extension, right? Like assuming, I'm just gonna write it in here. Yeah, that's kind of how I see it, guys. Like max target 85.50, which is kind of what we hit already. Yeah, we hit 85.50 right there. So, but I'm just gonna make a note in here that so you guys really understand that this is kind of where I'm leaning towards right now, right there. So $8,700 would be pushing it, assuming 1-to-1, or not 1-to-1, sorry, assuming 1618 extension. I see MAC targets as roughly 85.50, which is actually where we hit already. So yeah, it's really difficult for me to assume anything higher than that just based on all these resistance points that we have already so far, right? Yeah, so other than that, I think that we covered a lot of the material already here, okay? Yeah, I covered a lot of the material. I'm just making sure on my steemit that everything here makes sense, because I keep a blog on here, right guys? I keep a very detailed blog on here, so you guys should definitely check it out there. I keep lots of charts there. People are always wondering where the heck can I get access to this information? Well, you guys got to make sure that you're keeping up with the content, right? If you guys are constantly asking me where to find stuff, I don't really have time to reply to that, guys. You got to make sure that you understand I tweet on Twitter. I have things on YouTube where my videos are as well, of course, and I also have my steemit where you're gonna find a lot of the blogs on there, right? So I'd always appreciate the support and the love on all three platforms. It's how I sustain myself to keep it keep the material free, put it that way. So now let's look at the bearish count, right? Now that we kind of have an idea of where the possible targets are, from my opinion. So I see that we're still looking at a possible target. Actually, I'm going to delete all of this just to make it very clear. Let's go to like a daily chart or something like that. Let's draw in this trend line that I've been drawing in for a little bit now, just taking the wick end of these ranges, right? And what we clearly see is that if I zoomed in over here, we see that this is hitting these points right here, right? Let's get a little bit more symmetric here. Let's make sure that I interact with that point as well, right? Just to keep it very consistent throughout the day here. So if you guys notice, right around here is like, you know, around the 7,200 ranges that we could be interacting with, right? So because it's around the 7,200 ranges, I really do believe we're going to end up trending to here, which also ends up happens to be a very major support region around the 782 fib level, right? So if we just look at here, for example, the stars are sort of aligning right there, right? We see this as a major trend line support as well, okay? So I'm just going to write this in here for you guys and annotate it with these 3 points: major trend line support, right? As you guys can see here, we also see this right here. This is a major, this is a 0.786 fib level of waves 1 to 5, okay? So which is very important for us to distinguish, because this is where the waves 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 come in, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I believe that our ABC is very likely to touch down right around these regions, around the 7,200 or something like that. So I hope that this has given you guys a lot of insight with the way that I think as a trader. I hope that you guys are understanding my logic of where we're going to possibly bounce to. 7,250 is a very viable target. 7,250 is a very viable target and support region. So yeah, and make sure you guys are like keeping up with my material, you know. Sometimes people are like, oh, what do you think some of the targets are? Well, I'm posting a lot, right? And I'm, you know, keeping you guys really up to date quite a bit. And then people are like, oh, you're rude for not answering. I'm like, well, why would I want to answer it when, you know, I've tweeted about it like 100 times already and I've made videos. So it's really important that you guys as a trader stay up to date with my material, right? You can't expect people to basically handhold you through certain situations, or you can't expect to just ask a question and to be given an answer. It's not that simple, guys. People respect their own time, right? So you guys have to respect your own time as well. And part of being a good trader is actually being able to find information, right? So yeah. So here we're seeing an uptrend to 85.50, right? And like I mentioned, 87.50 would be really, really pushing it in my opinion. But you know what? It's possible for us to get there, but I don't think that we're really going to get to the 8,700 regions there, right? But keep in mind that 87.50 was possible on the higher barrier there. But I do think that we're nearing the support or the resistance limit already. So other than that, guys, I really appreciate the love and the support you guys have given me. You guys can find all this information on steemit, where I would really appreciate an upvote. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, share, retweet the material if it has helped you in one way or another. If you guys have destroyed it in the market because of my help in the past, or because you've learned a lot as well, you guys are welcome to donate to the cryptocurrency piggy bank. Don't ever feel obligated. You know, you guys are welcome to buy me a lunch, or, you know, donate something to Luna, because a lot of people have asked in the past before, but don't ever go out of your way. Other than that, have yourselves a great day, guys, and thank you very much for watching my videos. Bye now.